We gotta pray. We gotta pray. We gotta pray. Pray for the world tonight. We gotta save somebody, save somebody tonight. Fire in the air, what the hell going on? Sirens everywhere, singing that street song. Violence everywhere, barely holding on. What the hell going on? Do you know who you are? Do you know who we are? We're extraordinary people, living an ordinary life. One extraordinary question. We're gonna run no place, so we gotta pray. Pray for the love tonight. Another day. Pray for another try. Smoke is in the sky. What the hell going on? Bullets gonna fly right from the gun. Trying not to cry, barely holding on. What the hell going on? Do you know who you are? Do you know who we are? We're extraordinary people, living an ordinary life. One extraordinary question. We gonna live or die, so we gotta pray. We gotta pray. We gotta pray. We gotta pray. We gotta pray.
So a young woman named Rochelle Harris wrote a post that was so moving to me. I thought I would share it with you. Rochelle Harris is an interior designer extraordinaire. She's a graphic artist. She's a social media expert. She is a phenomenal Black woman. And the words that she wrote should inspire all of us to give what she wrote a full measure of thought. These words are not simple. They are not easy. In fact, they may be even uncomfortable. But she wrote this phenomenal statement, and I think you should hear it.
In the midst of listening to the myriad justifications for the display of the Confederate flag and Confederate memorial statues, and the sad rallying cries of all lives matter, I find myself most bemused at the seeming hardship a certain sector of the public feels that they are enduring at the subsequent erasure of these racist symbols of oppression. In response, I put forth a real-life example of hardship and ask that, for a moment, you imagine the possibilities of your life when faced with the following scenario. Imagine working for your company or organization for your entire lifetime and never receiving a penny of your wages. Imagine working 6 days a week from sun up to sundown and never receiving a penny for your labor. Think about your salary for a second. Think about how long you have been in the workforce. And then imagine all of those dollars never actually going into your pocket. Imagine that you start working for this company as soon as you can walk and comprehend directions and information. You work for this company up until you die or are transferred to another company. Imagine working for this company up until you are of age to have children of your own, and then watching your children go to work for this very same company and also never receive a penny of their wages. Imagine that your wife or your husband also works for this company, and your mother, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, and their friends, and their friends, and no one gets paid their wages. Imagine that the wages you and your family and your friends and their friends and their friends should be paid instead go back into your boss's pocket. Then imagine that this goes on for 244 years. How far ahead economically do you think your boss and his family and friends would be after 244 years of keeping the earnings of you and everyone you know? Then imagine centuries and decades later, after dozens of laws and policies were enacted by the federal and local government to further prevent you and your family and friends from achieving equity, that your boss and his people would feel proud at their wealth attainment and look their nose down at you and your friends' lack thereof. Imagine that after all of this, they would believe that you are inferior. Imagine after centuries of literally and figuratively having their knees on your neck, they would think that you are the one who is violent and ignorant and criminal-minded. Imagine all of this, and then imagine when the powers that be finally start to realize that there is a problem. Their response is to take down a statue and hang up a Black Lives Matter sign. Then imagine there are some people who won't even acknowledge that. Can you imagine it?
So take a moment to breathe. Take a deep breath and process what you just heard. 244 years without being paid for your labor, while others got rich off your labor, while you were beaten, your wives raped, your children sold out from under you, and you are labeled as violent, angry, inferior, less than. Colorism within the people, colorism within the plantation, colorisms within the organization, colorisms within the institutions. And here we are, 2020, and we are still not paid equally for our labor. We are killed for the slightest infraction. Children have to be taught a lesson when they're stalked by the police or someone in a position of authority, that the parents pray that their children make it home safely, that they're not shot or beaten or abused, that they're not incarcerated for the slightest infractions. During the crack epidemic, more Black and brown people went to jail than in any other time in history. And when the meth epidemic went ahead, we learned that that was a disease, but crack was a crime. We live in America. We all are Americans. And as Alicia Keys said, we are an extraordinary people living an ordinary life. So I ask you to tell me, what is this to you? A penny for my thought, but not for my labor. Thank you.